Hello, I'm Zuzana Dražilová, director of the festival A-FilmTeensFest. Today we have a workshop for beginners in English. It is a very special event because we do it for the first time during our festival that screens films made by children and youth from 7 years old till 21 years old. And we have films from 22 different countries, but we are very happy to have them. And our festival started November 14 and is ending on December 5th. And now I would like to give the word to Aoife from London, from the film group SPARKS, that works with children and teenagers, and they do different sorts of workshops for young generation. Hello.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having us. So my name is Aoife and I work for the company SPARKS. I've been working with them for about 5 years now, making lots and lots of films. We've got lots of schools all over the UK, and it's all about having fun and being creative. So we do all types of films. We come together, we share our ideas, and each term we create a new film where the children can bring in their costumes and we can make some props and really bring the film to life. So that's a little bit about us. And now I'm going to share my screen with you to teach you all about filmmaking. So today we're going to be learning the basics of filmmaking, and then we're going to look at things to make your films more interesting. And I'm also going to give you a few top tips on how to use your mobile phone as a good filming device. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you now. Just loading. Here we go. Okay, amazing. Let's move this to the top. So today we are going to start off by looking at shots, storytelling, and the basic introduction to filmmaking. So we are going to learn how to use shot types to tell a clearer story. We'll learn what those words mean shortly. We are going to give you some top tips on how to frame a shot. We're going to plan a short film together. And we are also going to give you 5 top tips for better smartphone filmmaking. So, introductions. I'm going to show you a short SPARKS film that was made by our students. Let me know if the sound is coming through. It should play perfectly, hopefully.
Be ready to say. You gotta go!
What happened? Well, I was in the storm and then I lost my sight and I don't know where I am now, so I broke my arm. This person, he can't speak, I don't know his name. Should we go to this place for your eyes? Yeah, that'd be great, thanks. You can stay here. Maybe someone brought it in or something. Stay there. Must be something in here. Ah! Medkit. Hey, I found the first aid kit. See if something's in here. It's a bandage. Should we put it over your eyes or something? That'd be great. Okay.
taken up to 20 central location. Help is on the way.
Okay, so that was a film made by a teenage group. So they planned the storyline, the characters, everything, and they filmed it themselves. So everything that you see has been created all by the kids with our directions, but they really come together to make the film. And you can do that too. After this session, you'll know all about it. So let's start off by introducing a shot. What is a shot? What does the word shot mean? So a shot is an uninterrupted view through a camera. And the shot can be described by the angle of the camera, the positions of the subject in the frame, the size of the subject in the frame, and any movements that the camera makes during the frame. So here is an example from the film that we just watched. This is a close-up. So close-up is a shot type. So what the shot is called. Now, close-ups are usually used for telling the audience important information, or it's really good for facial expressions. So we can see lots of detail here in his face because we're nice and close up. And the next one is a canted angle. This is a very unusual angle, but it's really cool when it's done correctly in films. So you practically get your camera and you tilt it to the side, and it makes your audience feel really uneasy and strange. Sometimes we use this for sort of dream sequences, when you wake up from a dream and everything is a bit strange, or perhaps in a scary film, when you're walking down a corridor and the camera's like this. It just makes the audience feel a bit strange. So I'm going to show you a few demonstrations with my phone. So 1 second, let's stop sharing. Well, in fact, I'll do it with my screen. So, for example, if I were to do a close-up of my face, I would pretend that this is my camera screen, so my frame, and I am the subject. If I wanted a close-up, I would come right the way close up to the screen. So you want to get right in nice and close. If I wanted to use a shot sort of for maybe a conversation, or if a character is doing something pretty normal, we'll use a mid shot. So I'm sitting actually in a perfect mid shot because we've got a little bit of room at the top of my head and it cuts off in the middle. And then if we were to do a wide shot, it would be of the whole room. So you'd want to see the top of my head and the bottom of my feet. Wide shots are really good for telling the audience information. So where we are, I'm in a boring white room right now, but if I was in the forest or at the beach, the audience would be able to see where I am and see what's around me, what's going on. So they're really good for telling the audience, where are we? Or maybe you want to start the scene with a wide shot of the whole space, the whole area. A few more that I'm going to teach you is let's do a worm's eye. So if it says it pretty much in the name, if you imagine a worm on the ground, that's where you would put your camera, down on the ground, pointing up. Now, if I were to point this camera up and stand up like this, I would look really big and strong and powerful. So we call that one a worm's eye. So it's like a worm looking up at the strong, powerful character. And the opposite of that is a bird's eye. So if you can imagine the camera is a bird in the sky looking down, this is the opposite of what we just learned. So if the character was down here and the camera was pointing down at them like this and they were begging, maybe they look a bit sad, small, vulnerable. That's a really good shot type. If you change in between these two, then your audience will know who the strong character is and who the more important character is. So those are a few shot types. I know I said them very quickly, but it's good to know, because now when you watch films, you will say, that's a close-up, and I know why they are using that. Because in films, we always use a specific shot type for a specific reason. For that example, making somebody look big and strong, or if something is really important, you'll start to notice it now, because it's very rarely that a film is just one shot. So one angle. You will notice lots and lots and lots and lots of different shots and shot types in your films that you'll watch now. So let's carry on. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. So here is a picture of all the different shot types that we went through. We've also got a few more, some moving shots as well. So here we go, close up of the girl's face. I can see she is shocked because it's a nice close up. I can see her facial expression. And then we have a wide shot. So I can see that this girl is a dancer and she's practicing. I can tell that because I can see where she is, what she is wearing. So I can see that she's in her dance gear ready, and I can see what she's doing. Perfect wide shot. Now, this one, extreme close-up. It's like a close-up, but even more intense. So, you know, sometimes in films, when a character is dead and you think they're dead, and suddenly there is an extreme close-up of the eye opening, and you're like, they're alive, oh my goodness. So an extreme close-up is really good for stuff like that. Or if you've got something really, really, really important that you want to show your audience, an extreme close-up. Maybe it's of something really tiny, like a button, something very important. And then we've got the low angle and the high angle. So the worm's eye from down below and the bird's eye from up above. Now, another one for conversations that's really good is this over the shoulder shot. So if I had my camera and I put it over my subject's shoulder, so if I put it here, I would be able to see that they're in a conversation, they're talking, and he's very shocked at what he's saying. And then I could move my camera over his shoulder, over here, and I could see that they're in conversation, and I'd be able to see what he's saying. So it's really good to get two over the shoulder shots, and then you can switch between the two when you edit. And then we have our canted angle when it's slightly tilted like this. And then we have a really fun one that I love because you get to handhold it, point of view, or POV. It's when the camera is basically your eyes. So everywhere you go, the camera follows with you. So if you're walking through a haunted, scary house and you hear a noise, the camera follows your movement. And that's a really good one for making the audience feel like they're actually in the film. So a part of the action, because you're moving around, you're looking. There was lots of point of view shots from the film that we saw, and lots of handheld sort of moving shots. So let's move on to the moving shots. If I had my camera here, pretend it's in my hands, and I moved side to side, that is what we call a pan. Not like a frying pan, but it's the same word. Side to side is a pan. Now, this is good if you want to follow somebody walking out the room, or if you want to start your scene there and then somebody walks in the room, or something happens over there that you want to move. It's really important with any moving shot that you keep your stomach nice and strong, your arms nice and strong, so that you get nice, smooth movements. Don't want to move too fast. Always keep it nice and steady. The more you practice, the easier it will get. Now, if you want to go up and down, we call that a tilt. So up nice and steady and down. And these are really good for introducing a character. So if you have a bad character, you can start at their feet and you can slowly move up so the audience can see who's there. And if you want to move around, so if somebody was following me and I was running away, I would use a track or tracking shot. When you hold the phone, it's not like the point of view, because the point of view is your eyes, but the tracking shot is more following a person. So those are the different shot types. If you want to make your film interesting, use as many as you can. Now, this is a little bit more technical, and you'll notice it now in films too. We call it the rule of thirds. So, what do I mean by the rule of thirds? Here we have a picture of Harry Potter, and if this was my frame, so you can see the rectangle, if this was my frame, I would say Harry Potter is in the perfect rule of thirds, because if you split your frame like this into 3 sections, we usually put our character or our subject's eye in this corner, or in any of the corner, or this corner. So for example, he is in this corner, and we can see that something is happening over here off camera because he's looking in that direction and he's placed in the rule of thirds. Now, sometimes in films, so this is a rule that we have to, well, not have to, that many filmmakers follow because it makes your shot look very clean and it's understood in the film world. But if you want to make the audience feel a bit uneasy, plopping your subject in the middle, like I am now, is not the rule of thirds. It's when you put it in the middle and it adds emphasis on the character. So maybe we're in an interview and I'm the subject and I'm right in the middle of the frame. But often we'll have it so that, kind of like this, so that the eye is always in that point. Sometimes when you turn your camera on, it will have these lines in the grid, or you can turn it on so you can tell if your subject is perfectly in the rule of thirds. So that is just a beautiful shot because he is right there in the rule of thirds. Okay, so going to move on to something a bit more creative now. We call frame within a frame. What does it mean? So in films, when you look through your camera, what you see is your frame. We've gone through that. Amazing. So if you set up your shot so there's something surrounding your character, this is called a frame within a frame. So you have your frame always, but if you were to put your character maybe inside a window, that would be a frame within a frame. It could be leaves, it could be trees, doorways, other people. I'll show you some examples so you know what I mean. Okay, so this man is sat in the snow, looking out at the sea, and you can see that he is framed by the walls. And he looks a little bit lonely in this picture because it's quite a dark picture and there's dark framing around him. But this would be an example of a frame within a frame. Let's look at some more. Okay, we have a couple and they are walking in between the arch, beautiful arch. That would be a frame within a frame because we've got our subjects here and they're being framed by the arch. Okay, this girl is in between 2 trees. It's a lovely close-up shot of her and she is being framed by the trees. Beautiful. And then we have this girl who is traveling and she is stood within the frame of the rocks, as we can see. If you look around your room or wherever you are right now, see if you can see any frames that you could put your character in. So I've got a window, I've got a door, And maybe I could create something to put around. So frame within a frame is very, very nice way of focusing on your subjects, but also making it interesting and telling a little bit more about the story. So let's move on to leading lines. Okay, so using elements, so using things in your image to create lines that guide the audience's eyes onto interesting areas of the shot. Okay, so sometimes in films, something is happening, maybe a fight or an important conversation, and you know it's happening, but your eyes keep wandering to a certain direction and thinking, why is this? It's because the filmmaker has purposely put something in your view of the leading lines to focus on. So let's look at some picture examples. Here we go. So there is a person on the tracks. Now this is a very, very wide shot, and we can see everything that's going on. There's there's nature, beautiful trees, and but our eyes are focused here on the person, and that's because we've got the tracks, the leading lines, making our eyes focus on the man at the end. Okay, in this film, we can see a very busy shop here, and we can see he's feeding the dog, and we've got lots of information to take in, lots of bright lights and lovely colors, but my eyes are focusing down here. What's going to happen? Why has the director chosen for these leading lines for our eyes to focus down here? Same thing again. The man is on the phone. We're looking at him. We're focusing on him. But my eyes can't help but wonder, who's going to come around that corner? Who's going to burst through that door? Our eyes, it makes us wonder what's going to happen. Now, let's look a little bit into light and shadow, because it's really, really important when you're making a film, lighting. Very important. So you can use any sort of light. You can use your phone torch, a desk lamp, or sunlight to create lights and shadows in your shots. Lighting is really important, because if you have a dark shot that nobody can see what's going on, nobody's going to want to watch it. So you need to make sure your lighting is perfect. So here we have 4 men walking, and there's a big light here, and the light is making their shadows look really, really tall. I don't know if you've ever walked down the street and the big street lights, you can see your shadow and you look super, super tall. That's the same effect here. So they've used a really big light far away to create these huge, scary shadows. So not only can you use lighting to make your shot look good, but you can utilize it to create interesting shadows. So same here, very dramatic. The sunlight is coming through the blinds, and we can see the shadows on the wall and on her and his face. Very dramatic, but beautiful lighting. Here we can see, I don't know if you've ever put your light or torch under your face in the dark and you look really scary. This is what's happening here. And we can see, I think it's scary because the shadows are so dramatic. So we can see if you have a light here shining up, the shadows on the eyes and nose area are very intense, and it makes your subject, he looks a little bit sad actually, but often it makes them look very scary. Okay, so summary of the shots. Why do we do it? We choose appropriate shots for each moment in your film because it tells the story. So you need to think about the story function of the shot. Use composition techniques like the rule of thirds or frame within a frame to boost your images. So, for example, if we were in an interview situation, we could have the subject in the middle, because that is quite intense. But if maybe I was in a conversation with somebody and they're over there, I would be in the rule of thirds, looking that way, because I know the audience will know that I'm talking to somebody and I'm also beautifully framed. We can also use the frame within a frames that we looked at to make your shots more interesting. Now, we are going to look at another technique, which is called show, don't tell. I just want you to think about that while we watch this. I'll explain afterwards, but I want you to have a guess. What does it mean, show, don't tell? Okay, we're going to watch this film. Here we go. Going to put it on full screen for you. I'm just going to remove my camera so that I'm not distracting. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Let's watch it without me there. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, here we go. Show, don't tell. Let's start from the beginning. Oops. Sorry, I'm frozen. Okay, let's try one more time. This film is called Busker, and they use the technique show, don't tell. Here we go. busker. And they used show, don't tell. Now, people use show, don't tell because it's a golden rule of filmmaking. It shows what is going on rather than have the character explain it. So, for example, we saw the busker. He was playing for money. We knew that he was working there all the time because we saw the different seasons. It was raining, it was cold, it was hot. We saw him through all of the seasons trying to make money. And then he gets hit by a car. And we know this because of the sound effects that are used and the camera angle. And also the next time we see him, he's got a cast, he's got an injury. So we know what happens without the, and then he comes back to haunt the guy. And we know this because we can see him getting agitated, rubbing his head a lot, in confusion. And we know that's going on because he's showing us, not telling us. So it's not like he called his friend and said, hey, I don't know what's going on. I keep having these nightmares. There wasn't even talking. So that is a perfect example of show, don't tell. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the structure of filmmaking and how we tell our stories. So pretty much like a book, a film has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in almost every film, it has the same sort of structure. So in the beginning, we have the setup. So where are we? What's the story so far? What's going on? Then we have a new situation. And then there's progress on this new situation. So maybe something dramatic has happened to the town and we need somebody to come in and save them. Then high stakes and complications. There's usually some sort of battle or argument or fight scene or something huge and life-changing to the film. And then it's the final push. And what is life like now after all of this crazy story has happened? What's life like now? So let's have another look with a similar diagram. So this is pretty much how a film usually goes. The start, where are we? What's going on? What's the story? Who are the characters? Rising action. Then you have the huge part where either a battle, a fight, an argument, something huge happens. Then what happens next? And what is life like now? So, a story in 3 simple questions. This will help you get started on your film. Who is the character? What do they want? And what will happen if they don't get it? That's a simple way to start. Who is the character? What do they want? And what will happen if they don't get it? Let's quickly move on to smartphone tips before we go. So, when you are thinking about your story and planning it, often we write down on a piece of paper the story. So you can bullet point this. You can write it down in full if you want to. So think about your story, plan it out, always plan, and you can make changes as you go along, but it's always good to plan. This is what we do in the real world as well. We spend months and months and months planning so that when we get to filming, we know exactly what we need to do and what we need to achieve, what shot types we need. You can write down a shot list. That's what I always do. So I will say I'll write down the story. If my story was, I wake up and I go and get some breakfast, that would be a very boring story, but here we go. I would write that down in a bullet point, and I would also say, okay, I want a wide shot, I want a mid shot, I want a close-up of me making the tea, and then I'm going to finish it on a bird's eye. I'd say that's a good amount of variety of shots. So you always plan it out into shots and scenes before you get started. When you're holding your smartphone, or iPad or tablet, always hold it sideways or landscape, never portrait like this. The reason is because this, when you film landscape, it's recognized universally. So if you want to put your film on your laptop, or if you want to upload it somewhere, you can, because you filmed it in that format, you filmed it that way. But if you film it like this and you try to upload it onto a laptop or something, you will it won't fill up the whole screen. So it's really important that you use this landscape aspect ratio, we call it. Hold your phone to the side so that when you upload it, it will play perfectly. Also think about lighting. So I would avoid filming against a bright background. So for example, if you had a window, that would be a really nice place for you to stand in front of and put your camera there. So you will be lit really nicely if you're standing that way. But if your back is towards the window and your camera is facing you, you're not going to be able to see much unless you want to do this on purpose and you want sort of a silhouette of a character, or you want to create a dark shadow, then you could put the light behind you, you stand in front, and then that's a really good way of creating shadows and scary figures. But unless you're doing that, always stand with the window and your camera there and you in the room being well lit. But you can also think about the cool shadows and lighting that we looked at earlier and why you would use them. Here's another one. Experiment with some smartphone video editing softwares. So we have given you a few examples here. We've got iMovie, Quick, and KineMaster. So iMovie comes free with any Apple product. You can use it on your phone or your iPad. And then the other ones you can download from the App Store or from Google Play, or whatever your device is on should recognize Quick and KineMaster. But editing can be really tricky, so just have a go. It takes a practice and it takes a lot of getting used to, but it really helps you visualize sort of what scene you're going to do next. So if you did a scene and then you went and edited it onto your phone, you can say, oh, that didn't really work, that shot leading into that shot. So maybe the close-up should have been a mid shot instead, so you can actually visualize it and see it coming together. Or perhaps you want to add more, perhaps you need a close-up of something that you feel is really important. You can go back and film it and then put it back into your edit. So I would always recommend practicing with editing so that you can see your things come to life. Perhaps you want to make a trailer for the film that you're going to make and have a go at editing on one of these apps. That could be really fun. And number 5, keep your camera steady. So there are lots of phone-friendly tripods and grips available, but don't be afraid of a homemade solution. A stack of books can be just fine. Now, I do this all the time when I'm filming. I put my camera onto maybe a table or a window ledge if it is safe. And I use that as a tripod because you can create anything with what you have, as long as it's safe and steady and won't fall down. Then I would recommend using whatever you have around you to be your tripod. I would also recommend, if you are a little bit less confident in the shot types, then perhaps you can put your phone on selfie mode and then set it up so you can see what's going on and you know exactly that you're getting the right thing in your shot. You're not chopping your head off or you're not walking out of the frame. You can put your phone on selfie mode and then put it on a table, and there you have it. You have your own little setup, movie making setup. Perfect. Now, I've got a challenge for you all. I would like you to plan and film a 6-shot sequence for a film called The Surprise. So, what do I mean quickly by shot? 6-shot sequence. So 6 shots, the different shot types that we looked at. So maybe you want to choose a close-up, then a mid-shot, then a wide, then over the shoulder, and then a bird's eye, and then a worm's eye. That's 6 different shots. So plan a 6-shot sequence, 6 different shots put together for a film called The Surprise. I would like you to use 6 different shot types. Okay, so a different shot type for each shot. And I would like you to think about the function of each shot and what storytelling the shot does at each moment. So I've spoken a lot about what the shot types mean and where you can use them. For example, a close-up on something important. And I know that I've said lots and lots and lots of information really quickly. So hopefully you can pause it and go back, or maybe watch some films and then it will come back to you. That is a wide shot. That is a mid shot. And make sure that they're used for something appropriate. So if you want to make your subject look really tall and scary, you would use that worm's eye instead of a bird's eye. So plan a 6-shot sequence for a film called The Surprise. That is your film challenge. It could be a huge surprise, or it could be a nice, humble surprise. It's completely up to you on what your film is about and where it will go. So first of all, plan it, write it down. Maybe you want to draw what your shots will look like so that you can visualize it. And when you get filming, you can say, that's exactly what I need. So plan it. And then once you feel confident with your plan, you can set up your camera, maybe in selfie mode, and get filming. And then once you've filmed, you can have a go at editing. The more you practice, the better you'll get. Okay, so that's all from us. We learned all about different shot types, storytelling, lots of lighting tips and cool functions on the camera, how you can set it up to create your own mini film set. And we also looked at making your frames more interesting by perhaps where your subject is sitting, and also maybe introducing some frame within a frames. So I hope you enjoyed the session and learned lots from me. That was very interesting. I'm going to turn my camera on to say goodbye. Okay, goodbye and thank you.